Hey, I'm live. Good morning to you. My name is Amira Hall, and I am a psychic medium. I help people turn their pain into power and manifest their desires into reality. So, hey, I'm live. Okay, yeah, there's that welcome from me. So I was waking up this morning and I was dreaming, had a recollection of a dream. And I want to share that with you. And it has to do, I'm going to be talking about woke and transgender and homosexual and heterosexual energies. So that's my guidance. I'm probably going to step in the poo a wee bit here. Let's go for it. So in the dream, I was waking up and I was preparing to give a talk. And there was a group of us and we were all taking our turns to go on stage. The curtains weren't open. We were all preparing. And I realized I had left my notes. I had no notes. I had no digital device to look at. And I was freaking out because I was like, oh my God, my mind has just gone blank. I can't memorize it. And I can't remember what I'm supposed to talk about. So honestly, that's kind of a pattern or an energy that I've been pushing through. If you've been following me, you've maybe seen that. So in the dream, I was just sitting there waiting. So I woke up and I'm pondering this dream before I even got out of bed. And so I'm asking, thinking about what I'm going to talk to you about today. And the guardians of the light codes, my guides, said to me, you're going to talk about woke. And I went, woke? No, you mean awake, right? Awake, because I talk about awakening consciousness. And they said, no, we want you to talk about woke and what this energy is and help people understand a little more, and actually for me to understand what it is. So, in all the work I do, my job here is to be clear. As a clairvoyant, when I first came back after having my near-death experience and being wide open, my pineal gland and all my clairs really triggered to high velocity. I had to learn how to turn them down. I had to learn how to manage my energy. And that's really where my path moved me forward and brought me here today. So in all the work I do, I help people understand who they are and their energies, the patterns of energy that are restricting them or limiting them from knowing themselves, from stepping beyond what they've perceived themselves to be. So back to the woke, right? So as I'm waking up and looking at this energy, I sat up, got my lemon water, and I'm looking at the energetics of what this whole shtick is around woke. And it's funny because I think yesterday, Jeffree Star, who a couple years ago, I had no clue who this guy was, right? So I pondered this. Well, he's going viral on this whole conversation about woke. What the heck? Well, I'm glad people are speaking up about it. And certainly Jeffree Star has a presence that gives him permission to talk about this subject. So I just went in and again, all the work and the clairvoyant work I do is all about personal development and getting neutral to any particular topic. I don't have an agenda. I choose a particular path because of how I feel and who I am. So when I was looking at the energy of woke, the energy that I could see was that it was slippery. It was kind of a gooey energy that was slippery. It was controlling in its own slippery fashion. It was fuzzy. It was elusive. So I couldn't really grab onto it. Just like water, you go to grab onto it and it just runs through your hand. And the other energy, the sense that I got was that this energy is not grounded. It's not present. And it's, pardon me, permeable, which means it morphs and it changes and it's easily influenced, right? So that took me on the path. Well, okay, if I'm looking at this energy called woke, what is this whole concept around transgender, which I'm not experienced in that world. I have little or none. I'm the first to admit it. And so, hey, anybody else that's got some ideas about what this is, I'm certainly open to it. This is just my guidance of what this energy is to help me understand. So when I look at the energy of transgender, I simply, beyond the word, I do see two separate aspects to it, male and female. It's either one or the other. So this concept of they or this or them wasn't showing up in the energy, but it was showing the energy of confusion, of distortion, and I was interpreting this as a soul disconnect, right? And the energy actually initially showed to me as a box of all tangled wires and cables, and you can't tell where the beginning is or the end. It's just one big box of mess, convoluted mess. And so loose wires in a box, it's disconnected, right? They're not plugged into anything per se. It's just kind of loosey-goosey, pardon the pun. And, I wanted to step back from all that. So it's good to see what the attributes of that particular energy is. But then again, I wanted to take a step back and see, like, well, what's initiating this? Where is this coming from? And the energy I could see was a control energy. And it was, again, an energy of influence and confusion. And without going down a deeper rabbit hole, I would almost venture to guess the sense I was getting was mind control, or a level of, let's call it an esoteric CIA that is trying to influence influential minds, or pardon me, impressionable minds in a particular direction, one way or the other, and creating mass confusion and hysteria. It's doing a great job at that. So then I wanted to take a little step back deeper into this, and I started to look at the energy of homosexual. What was that? And so I was reflecting on my first experience as connecting or knowing or having a sense of what homosexual meant. So I was about 7 or 8 years old, and we had a family friend. His name was Ron Biggs, and he's deceased now, so I'm at liberty to use his name. And Ron was a real special character in our family. He would join our family. He was actually my Aunt Vicky's boss. And he would come around for all the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter. My mom was usually the hub and the creator of these big meals. And so he would join my aunt. He didn't seem to have family. And I remember asking him, well, where's your family? How come you're not with me? And I never really got a concrete answer, just that they were far away. So over the years, my father would get really irritated. Of course, these holidays were my dad's permission to really, bottle up. And so my dad would get, angry or, vile and speak his mind. And he would often explode around the topic of Ron Biggs, and he would call him a faggot. And my mom would get all upset, quit using that word and ... And so as an 8-year-old, I didn't have any idea what that was, but I just realized Dad didn't like him being around. I always knew Ron was different. Ron was played with us. We would play Mother May I, or hide and seek, or Simon Says. Those were the favorite games. And we loved it when he came because he would just entertain us, whereas none of the other adults were. Mom was busy in the kitchen. Dad was just either watching a game or drinking and causing trouble. So that was an interesting thing. Ron connected with our younger spirits and wanting to play. And so I started to look at that energy, being Ron was the first person that I associated with a homosexual. And it was years later when Ron passed away, I asked my aunt, did Ron pass away of AIDS? Because he sort of just disappeared and we never heard any news from him. My aunt was furious at me. It was just the most taboo conversation. I think I hit the nail on the head, honestly. He had moved to Toronto and away from our family, but we lost touch. So he was impressionable on me. I liked him. I had no issue with him. There was never any, crossing boundaries that I can recall. And he was just a softer man. So I just looked at the energy of that and trying to understand it. Now, some people claim, and I'm not being a homosexual, I can't speak on this with all authority. There again, just from my clairvoyant experience and talking to people. Years ago, I did a reading for a woman, and Alejandra, she was from South America. And it was over the phone. She was in San Diego, so was I. And looking at her energy, I remember saying to her, I'm confused about this energy, because what you're showing me is, as your soul was coming into the body, it couldn't decide if it was going to be a male or a female. And, I was puzzled by that. What soul doesn't know what they're going to incarnate as? So I kept looking at the energy and describing to her, like, I see confusion. I see you wanting lace, but you couldn't wear lace. And so I asked her to explain, what am I seeing? And she said that she was born with male genitalia, but the female also on the inside. And so her family didn't know what she was to be. Now, raised in South America as a Hispanic, they dress little girls in lacy and frilly dresses. And Alejandra said that she always wanted to be like her cousin that was dressed in all the frilly dresses. But her family didn't dress her that way. Her family didn't know if she was a boy or a girl. I don't know how all the parts look down there, so anybody wants to know. And I just didn't get in deeper in the conversation. This was way back in the early 2000s. And so she explained to me that it wasn't till she was an early teen, they waited till she went through puberty to determine where the hormones were most prominent in order to create or do the surgery that would be appropriate to her hormonal physical body needs and would be best serve her. So I thought that was profound, and it gave me some deeper insight in maybe what happens with our soul and how, before we incarnate, if we're going to be a male or a female. So there was some crossover. That's the best I can really describe it. Now, she did become a mother naturally. So she did take hormone treatment, and she continued as a woman. And I remember saying, and I remember that reading, your spirit, your soul wants to, incorporate more lace. Perhaps you can put some lacy underwear, or perhaps you can adopt or feel or connect with that. Now, perhaps it was a hormonal imbalance that she couldn't even get to that point. I don't know. We didn't talk about the panties after that. So that's about that, my awareness of, homosexuality and confusion. And I do believe that I'm programmed, you're programmed, we're all programmed. There's this great book called The Virus of the Mind. I think it's Richard, somebody will tell me out there. Anyway, it's a fantastic book. When I read that book, and it helped me understand, oh my God, at the level I work in deprogramming people and removing patterns that we're all born into or are exposed to growing up, it's profound beyond our imagination. So I highly recommend you read that. It'll definitely have you scratching your head. So we all have judgments. We all have preferences. We're all controlled or influenced with our early childhood, our family first and foremost. And we all have entities or beings or energies that are patterns that are affecting us or influencing us. So back to the woke, the transgender, the homosexual. I believe in a case of homosexuality and perhaps even transgender, and woke, they all fall into the same category of there's an energy that's twisted or interfering with them and their soul, their connection with their higher self. And hey, it's up to each one of us whether or not we want to travel the path of remembering who we are, finding out the core and the essence of everything that we are. That's been my path from a very early age, wanting to know who I am and the mysteries of the universe, and trying to uncover, how I can use some of those mysteries and apply them in my life and really be the best person I can be, right? So I think, again, the influence that we're all exposed to is external forces. Call them entities, call them demons, call them beings, call them your mom and your dad. Those energies affected you from the very early beginning of your life. So, having coming into alignment, whether you're in business, whether you're trying to find your purpose, whether you're trying to find that perfect and right relationship, we have to come into alignment with ourselves first in order to have clarity and know where you're going or who and what your next experience or your best opportunity would be. You have to have clarity, but you also have to take action in the appropriate direction. So if you're somebody that's not accountable for your actions or your thoughts, then you're probably being misguided by some energies or some control entities beyond your awareness. I know that might freak a few people out, but just think of your mom as an entity. And sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. But, it's not a good or bad judgment. Your mom's beliefs. I was folding some tea towels earlier after I washed them. And I thought to myself, look at me. I'm folding my tea towel in 3, and then I'm hanging them over the bar of the oven. That's exactly what my mom did, right? At an early age, I was ironing the family tea towels and the pillowcases. To this day, I fold them the same way. That's my mom's energy. And that's an example of that impression on me. Now, is it good or bad? Does it affect me? Well, if that pattern or that habit is affecting me in some way, I could be aware of it and change it and to make it more effective for me. And so does it take away from me? No, I like the neatness. I appreciate that. I appreciate the specificness of it. Does it have to be ironed? No, I let go of that pattern a while ago. Does it have to be a certain way? Is it going to be, freak me out if it's all munched up for a minute? No, it's not. So that's an example of how energies can affect us and how we don't even realize we go through our day making decisions. And it's really coming from an outside influence. And so there again, back to you, Jeffree Star, and speaking out, and anybody else who really is interested in manifesting what, was in your heart. Hey, first thing, we got to get clear. We got to be in alignment. And we've got to take steps and action in that direction. So I went a little longer than I wanted to today, but I hope this helps you. I'm trying to sort out maybe some of your own confusion and where you want to go. Please leave your comments in the below. I'd love to hear what your take on woke and transgender and homosexuality, and maybe you got a question. Maybe you'd like to look at it for yourself, where it began, or how it's affecting you. I worked with a young gal in Dubai, and when she came to me, she had a girlfriend, and they were very much a partner. When I kept working with her energy, I kept saying, you're not gay. I don't see you as gay. And funny enough, of course, in the Middle East, they want everybody to get married and have a gazillion kids. So as I was clearing her energy, guess what? She broke up her relationship. She found a man, and she has 3, I think maybe 4. She's working on a big family. And so the idea here is her partner, who was very gay, had influenced her and convinced her that she was a lesbian. Well, the interesting thing was, so there was an agenda here and a mismatch of agendas. Okay. Now her girlfriend wasn't happy with me, but I felt content knowing that I just bring her into alignment. Which way she goes is up to her. It has no bearing on me. And the beautiful thing is she's very happy with her kids. And I think her and her girlfriend are still friends. But there again, I was trying to understand how it came to be and how many homosexuals, lesbians and homosexuals there are in the Middle East. And then it started to make sense to me because from a very early age, and then even later in life, the women are protected and kept in a group. The men pretty much with themselves. So when we're starting to develop our sexual desires or feel comfortable in exploring that, we're going to explore it with somebody that we feel safe with or familiar with. And so I guess that would be a comfort zone where they would continue that pattern. So again, no judgment on it. And I understand completely how it is developed and energetically how we're influenced. So there, I'm going to leave it there to all of us waking up right into this concept of being controlled, dominated, or influenced by outside energies. So have a great day. I'm going to finish my lemon water. I'll talk to you all tomorrow, same time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. I'll be